Thank you for clicking on the Literacy Volunteers of Harrison County YouTube channel. We're a nonprofit United Way agency. Currently, we are doing a series of videos called Handling the HiSet. This is part 7 on using writing mechanics. The first thing we want to look at is comma usage. So as a general rule, commas indicate where the readers would pause in a sentence, as if you were reading the sentence. Well, let's look at them first in compound sentences, which we've talked about before, but we're going to place a comma immediately before the coordinating conjunction. On a separate video, I listed some coordinating conjunctions if you want to go back and look at those. And this is our example. Some people are cautious drivers, comma, but others are not. So we have two clauses put together with this coordinating conjunction, and we want to separate that with a comma right there. Although we want to be careful, because for sentences that appear to be compound but are not. So if a sentence does not have two independent clauses, a comma is not needed before the coordinating conjunction. So make sure those can stand alone. Those are two independent clauses. We also need commas after introductory elements. So we're going to put whether it's a word, we'll look at some examples, a phrase, a clause, whatever's introducing our sentence, we need a comma after that. Or examples, an introductory word. Yes, comma, I will need more time on my test. That's just one word that introduces our sentence. We could have an entire phrase. By game time, comma, the players will be well rested. Or we can have a clause. If you are a good writer, comma, you will be able to pass the exam. This is a dependent clause. It's not independent, right? If you are a good writer is not a complete sentence. It's a dependent clause, a subordinate clause. So remember that only that subordinate clause at the beginning of a sentence requires a comma. If that were at the end of a sentence, we would not need the comma. So that's the difference between where we put the subordinate dependent clause. And then there's also commas when we're listing items in a series. We have 3 or more items and we're listing those. We need to place commas between all of the items. Mary, comma, Sam, comma, Tracy, comma, and Doug are ready to run the race in the morning. Since we have all of these separate people, we want to put a comma to separate them out so we see the distinction between each and every one, or each and everything if we were listing colors or types of cars. Then we also have commas with appositives. And a positive is a word or group of words that gives more information about the noun by renaming the noun. Wendy, comma, an experienced teacher, comma, presents great lessons daily to her students. In order to decide if this is an appositive, we would read the sentence by just taking it out and seeing. So that says, Wendy presents great lessons daily to her students. That's a complete sentence in and of itself. So if we can still identify the person, place, or thing described in the sentence, we have to use commas around that appositive to describe that person or place or thing that we're describing here. You could put, my dog Scout, comma, an experienced hunter, comma, helps me when I go. So we're describing the dog. Comma errors to avoid. What we want to do is to follow these guidelines because we don't want to overuse commas. We do not need a comma between the subject and the verb. This is wrong. Fairmont State University, comma, is the school Beth hopes to attend. We don't need that there. Just Fairmont State University is the school Beth hopes to attend. We do not use a comma between two subjects, two verbs, or two other items joined by the words and or. Social studies, comma, and science are my 2 favorite subjects. We don't have 3 things in the list. We only have 2, so we're just going to leave the comma out and we have the word and there. We don't need the comma. This is also wrong. Rich writes practice essays, comma, and reads books. Again, we don't have a list of items. We don't need that comma. Just Rich writes practice essays and reads books. So we could put those in the compound verb. The next thing we want to look at is capitalization. We always capitalize proper nouns or names of persons, places, things, or ideas. The library that is located on Spring Street in Morgantown, West Virginia is closed. All of these are proper nouns. Spring Street, the word Morgantown because it's the name of the city, and the West and the Virginia because it's the name of a state. Proper nouns need to be capitalized. We do not capitalize common nouns that don't refer to specific places or things. This is wrong. Many doctors volunteer at clinics in the city. Those are referring to generalizations. Doctors is not a specific person. It's a group of people, specific people, but not one specific doctor. So we put a lowercase. And then we don't capitalize just the name clinics in the city. If it were a specific name of a clinic, then we would capitalize it. But since it's not, we don't need to capitalize it. We want to capitalize the names of proper adjectives. Mr. Smith has a French-Canadian heritage. French-Canadian modifies what Mr. Smith has. It describes him, so we have to capitalize those two words. And we want to capitalize if a person has a title before their name. We do not capitalize a title when it appears without a person's name. Like back here, we did not capitalize doctor because there's no person's name. But when we come down here, if we say Dr. Jones, then we would capitalize that. Here we have the title before the name. Mr. Smith met recently with Mayor Jones. If we just put Mr. Smith met recently with the mayor, then it's a lowercase m. But since it's Mayor Jones, we capitalize both of them. Title without a name. The doctor and the mayor are friends. No names, no capitals. Thank you, Mayor, for listening to my presentation. We're addressing him specifically, so then when we address him, we have to capitalize that because we're talking to him, speaking to him. We capitalize the names of holidays, days of the weeks, and months. You know that. Labor Day is always in September. Labor Day is a holiday. September is a month. And if we put on a Friday, we would capitalize Friday as well. And we also will capitalize specific school courses in all languages. I am taking Introduction to Computers 4, so that's the name of a course we want to capitalize. English, since it's a language, and math. So those are the ones that we capitalize. A specific course, not a general course. It's just math. If it said and algebra, then we would capitalize it. Possessives and contractions. Some of the most common spelling errors involve possessions and contractions. So we want to kind of look at these guidelines. Possession, that's something you own. We talk about your possessions. They show ownership. So we're going to use apostrophes with possessive nouns, but do not use apostrophes with possessive pronouns. Possessive nouns, this is my friend's house. There's the apostrophe. Mary's car. The cat's bowl. This is your friend owns this house, Mary owns that car, and that bowl belongs to that cat. They show possession. Possessive pronouns like his, hers, ours, yours, theirs, its, we don't put the apostrophes. This is correct. The cat's tires are old. The car's tires are old. The atlas is hers. See, we didn't capitalize, we didn't put an apostrophe in hers because it's a pronoun, but we did in cars because the tires belong to the car. Oh, there sorry, I missed one. If a noun is singular or if it is plural but does not end with an S, we need to add that apostrophe, then the S to form that possessive. Singular possessive, dogs, women's, dads, that's with the apostrophe here. If that noun is plural and ends in S, we're going to put that apostrophe after the final S. Workers, ladies, this is already plural, so that apostrophe goes after the S. A singular noun often sounds like a plural noun. We will use an apostrophe only with the possessive. My company's benefits, that's possessive, the benefits that belong to the company, make it one of the best companies, plural, to work for. So we're putting the apostrophes only when it shows possession. If it's plural, you don't need it. Two different, you can see the differences. A contraction shortens two words by combining the second word with the first and leaving out one or more of the letters. An apostrophe takes the place of the missing letters, and some contractions combine pronouns with verbs. Here is, here's. We took out the I for is and we put the apostrophe. There is, theirs. We took out the I and is and put the apostrophe. I am. We took out the A and am and put the apostrophe. So we want to be careful to use the apostrophe in place of the missing letter or letters. Sometimes the correct position is not necessarily the point at which the two words come together. So when we write don't, we don't write you, do, apostrophe, NT. Right? It's going to be D-O-N apostrophe T. So it doesn't always occur right where we split the word. It's still two words, but it doesn't always occur right when we split the word. This is wrong. You don't have to wear a mask. Homonyms. Homo means same. So these are words that sound alike but are spelled differently. And if you're in your writing, you have to make sure you're using the proper word. So if we have accept and accept, when we accept something, we receive it, and when we accept, we exclude it. Affect and affect. Affect is to have an impact on, and the effect is a result. And then this is just one I give you. This is a common one. Board, B-O-A-R-D is a piece of wood. B-O-R-E-D means we're kind of tired. We don't really care about that anymore. We're not interested. The last thing to look at is idiomatic usage. Idioms are word combinations that, due to long-standing usage, are held to be correct. There are very many idioms in English, and each one has its own rule that establishes the proper usage. Sometimes you have to rely on your ear, what it sounds like to you, which combination of those words are correct. They usually involve a verb and a preposition. This is wrong. He is regarded to be one of the league's best players. The right way to say it, he is regarded as one of the league's best players. This is also wrong. The actor is romantically linked with the talk show host. The correct way to say it is the actor is romantically linked to the talk show host. And then we have other kind of idioms that you become more familiar with, usually in the lower grades, that have completely different meanings. It is raining cats and dogs. It is not literally raining cats and dogs, but that's an idiom. We need to go back to the drawing board, or I wish he wouldn't beat around the bush. Some of those are just idioms that you will hear in English. You really shouldn't use these in proper writing because it makes your writing sound too novice. It doesn't sound right. So we would like to thank you for clicking on our videos. We have 8 separate videos on handling the HiSet, and feel free to use those and go back at any time to check and see. And please give us a thumbs up and like our videos and share them with your friends.